welcome to the second My Life in Football, and I'm really pleased to say that joining us is a man that has got a smile on his face this weekend, or the last couple of weekends at least, and of course the manager of Molesey, Craig Lewington. So Craig, a massive thank you for joining us today, and I suppose first things first, a massive congratulations from the coming weeks of football that you've just had.
Yeah, no, thank you, mate. It's been good. It's been a good last couple of weeks. It's there's good positive results, and yeah, like yourself.
So I suppose one of the things I suppose some of the Molesey people would probably know, and a few others, but I mean, whereabouts did you actually physically start your footballing career then? I mean, how did you get into football in the first place?
Well, loads of people that know me will know about my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, me and my brother was always destined to go into the football. We started at about 6-7 years old, playing for a local team called PD United. With Walton Casuals manager, actually, Anthony Gale as well. There was three of us. We were all there. And I was lucky enough to be scouted by Wimbledon at the age of 8. And I stuck with them, done all my schoolboy forms, and then I was given an apprenticeship, and I was there all the way till I was 20 years old when I got released. And that's really where the non-league journey started. The real football, as I call it, is when I was asked to go to Kingstonian with Steve Sedgley, who was the old Tottenham player. He was the manager, and had great times there, to be fair. Kingstonian were a big club then. They'd just won the trophy a couple of years before and been relegated from the conference. So I was there, had some brilliant times there. Like I say, I learnt a lot under Steve Sedgley. He was really good.
So how difficult was it, Craig, sort of growing up, with a really famous dad as well? I mean, how difficult was that? Was there pressure for you to actually go into football, or was there no pressure put on you at all?
No pressure from the family. Mum and Dad were good as gold. They were just, me and my brother were left to it. If we wanted to do football, we done it, which we always wanted to. It was like one of those things. Ever since we could walk, we were kicking the ball. No, but Dad's good as gold. Whenever he comes to a game, he just stays in the background. Even back then when we were younger, just keeps himself to himself and lets us get on with it. It's good. You get the pressure comes from the other people, really. People that think you're, because your dad is who he is, that you're going to be this, that, or the other. But no, from Dad, Mum, Dad, they were good as gold. They never put any pressure on us.
So I suppose going off then to Kingstonian. I mean, was that a bit more of an eye opener than sort of down at sort of Wimbledon? Was that more of a
mate?
big change?
I've gone from I was playing at Wimbledon in the reserves, captained a few reserve games, and they just introduced the Premier Reserve League, so we were actually playing at the stadium. So the season I got released, I just scored at Vicarage Road, played at the stage, played at Anfield, and the stadiums go on. I got released, and my first game for Kingstonian was Kingstonian Reserves versus Cheshunt and Hook Reserves on a cow field. I've gone from having the top coaches, kits laid out, everything. We literally had to bring ourselves to Kingstonian Reserves, where the kit had holes in it. My foot went through the sock, it had a massive hole in it. I remember thinking, what have I done here? But that's non-league football. It is what it is. So it's I enjoy it.
Was it one of those things of thinking, Struth, I don't know if I want to carry on with this? I mean, was it that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Honestly, mate, you see and hear a lot of people that fall out of the pro game and they go into non-league, and after a season or so, they're not seen again. And you can understand why, but like I say, honestly, there was a man and his dog there, and the pitch had a blade of grass on, and I'm not exaggerating, it was horrendous. But like I say, I just loved my football, so there was no way I was going to stop. I was always going to carry on.
So what was the game like itself then, the first game for, was the level of, you must have noticed the difference in even the level of football once you got onto the pitch as well.
Yeah, what, the reserve game or the actual? The reserve game. Yeah. It was bad, mate. It was bad. You're playing against people that are about 4 stone overweight, having a fag at half time. It was an eye opener. But no, it was like I said, I played a couple of games for the reserves and then I went on to make my first team debut. So for Kingstonian, which was a lot more professional than the reserves was run.
So I mean,
thankfully.
So I mean, who was the first game against? For the first team for Kingstonian.
The first game was against Grays. It was the season Kingstonian started late. They started about 6 games after everyone else because there was problems with the ground and stuff like that. and we had Grays at home, which we drew 2-2. We then went on a real good run. That's the year Aldershot were in the league. Canvey Island won it that year. But we were sitting about fourth with about 6 games in hand. We were doing really well, but we just faded away a bit. But yeah, it was a good level of football back then. It was effectively the Conference South, because obviously back then it was just Conference and then Ryman Prem. Yeah, and it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be honest. After having the reserve football, I wasn't sure what to expect, but the first team standard was obviously a lot proper football, a lot better. Good, lots of ex-pros in there actually that have been about. Done the game.
Did you come across any ex-pros in there when you were playing? I mean, who was about on them days?
Mark Beard. He played for Southend, Millwall. He was in the Kingstonian team. We had Lance Key in goal, who played for Sheffield Wednesday, etc. That was just our team, and there was lots of others. And on the way up, you had a lot of the young lads coming through. Freddie Eastwood, was it Freddie Eastwood, striker for Grays, who went on to make a career. There were lots of up and coming ones, so it was a good standard. Good standard.
How long was you at Kingstonian for?
I was there for 2 years, and then I crossed the water. I had Alan Devonshire ring me up at Hampton and Richmond. So they'd just been promoted into the Premier, and I was a bit unsure because Hampton back then were a smaller club than Kingstonian, and I was a little bit unsure, but there was lots of things going off the field at Kingstonian with Cosler, the old chairman, about selling the club and the ground, and I thought it was a good time to get out. So yeah, went to Hampton and Richmond, and again had a real good season there.
What was
enjoyable?
What was it like playing for a legend in someone like Alan Devonshire though? That must have been a joy to actually play for.
Yeah, listen, if you can't learn off someone like that, you wouldn't, who you're going to learn off. But I remember one of my first games, my dad come to watch, and he said, "Oh, I thought you said Dev was manager." I said, "Yeah, he is." He said, "Who was it then?" And he said, "It can't be that scruffy bloke with the flat cap on." I said, "Yeah, that's Dev." Dad said, when he played, he was built like a matchstick, but he obviously put a bit of weight on since then. Dad didn't recognise him, but no, Dev was top man. Dev knew what he wanted from his teams. There was no messing about with Dev. You either done what he said, or you were down the road type thing. And again, we missed out on the playoffs that year on goal difference.
You must, as a young player, you must learn a lot from somebody, not just an ex-pro, but an ex-pro that's been right at the top of the game as well.
I didn't actually realise how good he was until Dad had told me about him and who he played for. And then when you actually look it up and you realise that, X amount of caps for England and that. But again, just little experiences, like little things, little bits of knowledge that he would pass on that stick with you now, even to this day. It's just, he was good. He was good, Dev. Like I say, you towed the line with Dev. There was no ifs or buts. It was his way or no way. And if you look at his career even now, the success he's had at Maidenhead, obviously I know they're struggling a bit this year, but a club that size is always going to struggle in the conference. But no, Dev was excellent for me. Done really well.
Do you think that makes a difference for clubs when they've got somebody like that coming in, and even like in the leagues that we're in now, with Julian Dix going in at Heybridge? I mean, it must make a massive difference to the young players in that team when they see somebody like that coming in and being a manager.
Yeah, I think it does. I think, listen, you should give 100% every game, which I'm sure everyone does. But if you know Julian Dix is your manager, or Alan Devonshire with me, even Steve Sedgley at Kingstonian, obviously played for Tottenham and stuff, you want to impress them that little bit more. You want them to know that you're not just like an average non-league player. You want to prove to them that maybe you could go a bit higher. And I think you do raise your game by a couple of percent, and maybe that's why Dev has the success he has. I don't know.
So, what? Any good games or any big memories for you down at Hampton?
Hampton again was a real good time. Probably we had a real good set of lads there. A lot of players have been around the non-leagues, like Jamie Jarvis, Matt Elverson. We had Elliot Godfrey, who's just retired from Wildstone. Ryan Ash. We had a lot of players that done the circuits. I say we missed out on goal difference. We got to the Bryco Cup final, as it was then, the League Cup final. Lost to Slough, and then we also lost in the final of the Middlesex Cup to Hayes and Yedding. So we had a good side, and it was, like I say, there were plenty of stories from that year. Most of them rude, but that was a good time in my career. That I enjoyed it.
So from Hampton, I mean, how did you sort of end at Hampton? Because then on to, am I right? We went to Windsor and Eton.
Windsor and Eton, yeah. And to be honest, I look back, it was probably the worst thing I've done. I'll be totally honest. I went for another 40, 50 quid a week. I was offered more money, and I'm sort of embarrassed to sort of say it now. I jumped on it. I went with the money, and they paid well at Hampton as well. So it weren't like you were getting pennies. We were getting paid well. Maybe a bit young, naive. I went there for the money. They were tipped to win the league. Windsor. They got relegated, and Hampton actually got promoted that year. So I learnt my lesson. It was not good. But like I say, it's the only time I've moved anywhere for money, and I'm ashamed to sort of admit that. Really.
Was it? So I mean, why would it be? What happened then? I suppose if they were favourites to win the league, or you were favourites to win the league that year, what did it just go wrong from the start? Do you think? Or?
Mate, yeah, I just think like, at Hampton there was such a good team spirit that you hear the old things that team spirit's worth 6-7 points a season, and I think it actually is. Like it's we had a good camaraderie, a togetherness. At Windsor, it was just individuals. They probably had better players than Hampton individually, but like I say, we played as individuals, and I actually felt sorry for the manager because he was a real nice bloke. Dave, I can't think his name, Dave something, but he was a real good bloke, and I felt a bit sorry for him because he had a lot of pressure because everyone knew about the budget Windsor had, and it just wasn't working. Like I say, we were individuals. There was no togetherness. No one really spoke to each other off the pitch, which in non-league, as you know, is a big part. Is the social side of it, and we had none of it, and we struggled. So I actually left halfway through the year to go to Maidenhead. It was that bad. Maidenhead were in the Conference South then. Carl Taylor rang me up and sort of said, offered me a way out, and I actually went there on less money. I just wanted in the league higher in the Conference South, but I just wanted to get out. I just wasn't enjoying it, and yeah, so that's what I ended up at Maidenhead.
So going into Maidenhead, I mean, what was that like? Was that a bit of a difference again from Windsor and Eton? I mean, were you finding the difference in the clubs as you went in? Were they getting better? Were they getting? Did you feel they were getting?
Kingstonian was a massive club. Obviously, they'd won the trophy a couple of times. They had nice ground. Hampton, ground-wise, that wasn't nice, but was still a big club. Windsor, I just thought Windsor was a small club that had money, and then when you get to Maidenhead, it felt proper. Like they were in the Conference South. You were going to proper grounds. And yeah, like I say, unfortunately we got relegated that year with Carshalton. But the league, there was a big difference in the league between the Premier and the Conference South back then. There was a difference. And it took me a game or two to adjust. Our first game away was Farnborough away. So you sort of get there, you see the ground, and you think, yeah, this is proper. Oh, sorry. Oh, what am I doing here? Sorry, mate. Someone ringing me. Sorry, mate.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, literally, I mean, is it with that though? I mean, you go somewhere like Farnborough. Was that sort of bring back because that's quite a professional ground, isn't it? If you know what I mean. I mean, it does look like it's a ground that you could see maybe in Division 2 or something like that because
definitely
that sort of side of it. So was that again going to somewhere like that a bit of a breath of fresh air for you when you see grounds at that level in the Conference South?
Yeah, it was. And you had your Dorchesters and your Weymouths in that league at the time that were good grounds. And again, it felt a little bit more like what I'd been doing previously when you show up at the ground and you actually feel a bit more up for it. There's actually a crowd there rather than the 20 or 30 you getting at some games. But yeah, no, it was good. It was an enjoyable time. Unfortunately, we got relegated. But yeah, it was a good club, Maidenhead. I enjoyed it. I'm pleased they're doing well now.
So, any funny stories from Maidenhead?
Maidenhead, it was good. It was good times at Maidenhead, but we were near the bottom, so the actual laughs were a little bit few and far between. But they had a strip club round the corner called the Honey Pot, which a few of the lads had a few good nights in there, shall we say? So we'll leave it at that.
So from Maidenhead back to Kingstonian.
Back to Kingstonian, yeah. Maidenhead got relegated. We went in the Southern League Premier, which the travelling was just ridiculous. You go to Tiverton and places like this on a Tuesday night. I got injured, and Johnson Hippolyte just took over. He left Staines and come in. and I couldn't get my place back in the team. He brought a good team in. I struggled to get back in, and with the travelling that I was doing, I couldn't be going to all these places and sitting on the bench. So Kingstonian had come in, and I went back there. And they say don't go back to a team. I sort of could see why the club had changed from the club I'd signed for originally. The first time I was there, that just got relegated from the conference and stuff to what it was. It was a shame to see. It was just they were averaging crowds of like 500, 600, 700 when I first went there. The second time, they were lucky if they got 200. It was a shadow of the club it was.
So what do you think went wrong?
At Kingstonian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the man Cosler, the chairman, they actually had their own ground, which was theirs, and he sold it to AFC Wimbledon, which I know got up a lot of people's noses. And one by one, the team wasn't doing so well. You know, it's like people stopped going to the games. They were weeks from going out of existence at one point, Kingstonian. I know not too many people know about that, but they were weeks from going out of existence, and I think people were just giving up on the club. Mm. It's on its way up now a little bit. I know they have the ground share at Corinthians now, which is such a shame, but I think it's starting to get back to what it was a little bit.
Yeah, because they seem to be a club that every different year, every season, they seem to just be playing at a different ground all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's what the fans were getting annoyed about. They had a lovely ground, Kingstonian. I don't know if you've been there, but real nice ground. Again, league quality, hence AFC playing there. But yeah, they was at Leverhead last year, weren't they? Now they're at Corinthian Casuals this year. It's just they haven't got a home, and I think if you're a supporter, you want somewhere to call home. I don't think they have that. So yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, as a player and of course now a manager, I mean, if there's one thing you could change in non-league football, what would you change?
Players jumping about for money, a tenner here and a tenner there. My advice, what I say to our boys now, like, just if you're enjoying it somewhere, stay there. Like, grass ain't always greener. I've made that mistake. If I could change anything about non-league football, maybe the professionalism. You go some places and it is a bit Sunday morning. But that's on and off the pitch. That ain't just off the pitch. That's players' attitudes as well. Like, see players coming in for games and you can tell they've been out. They look rough and that. But yeah, just the professionalism really in the game. That'd be it for me.
I mean, you went from how long was you at Kingstonian the second time?
A season. But like I say, it wasn't the club that I'd previously been at. It was it was still a good club, but nothing like it was. And my old manager there, Kim Harris, he was at Walk Casuals. He run me up when I went there. I was there for 5 years, I think. Come within 2 appearances and breaking the record. I think I played for like 295 games for them, I think. And again, there was always a struggle at Walton. They were never near the top of the league, but it was. I was all my mates that I grew up with: Scott Harris, Andy Gale, Greg Ball, Max Huswick. We were all there. It was like being at school again. It was all our old classmates, and we had some good times there. And then ended up at Molesey. Went to Molesey where I've played over just short of 300 games now. So I'm loving life there. It's a brilliant little club. I know your show sort of has adopted us, but it's they really try and run it well at Molesey. It's a small club, but the people behind the scenes, they do their best, and like sometimes I think that's appreciated more. Like clubs like that where you've got people behind the scenes giving their all, rather than the big clubs that have hundreds of volunteers and don't do it properly. So it is a brilliant little club, Molesey.
Yeah. I mean, just going back to Walton Casuals, I mean, you had that sort of like West Ham connection with Tony Gale in the background as well. I mean, what was it like then going to somewhere like that when you've got another legend that's there? And I dare say he's probably passing on a few, bits and bobs of knowledge.
Tony played with my dad at Fulham, and me and Anthony went to school together. So I've known Tony since I was a baby. And with his Sky work, he wasn't always there because obviously doing Soccer Saturday or whatever he's doing. But yeah, again, the games he come to, he passes on his knowledge. Me and a few others got it a bit more than the ones he knew. He felt he could dig out a bit more, and as he'd known me since a baby, I was on the end of a few of them. But no, he was good. Everything he said was right. He wasn't having a go at me because I was, for the sake of doing it. he was right in what he was saying. And like I say, if you're not going to listen to someone like that and what he's done in the game, who are you going to listen to?
So, I mean, what sort of any games or bits and bobs that stick out for you with Walton Casuals? Any?
Walton Casuals. There was a game we had Mick Sullivan in charge, and Mick, he won't mind me saying this, but he didn't want no passing football. He wanted the ball boom long, and we were playing Merstham, who was second in the league, and was 6-0 up at half time. And at half time, he come in and was like, lads, I don't want no tippy tappy football. Just turn them round. Mick, we're 6-0 up, mate. Like, what are you going on about? Like, let's just go out there and enjoy ourselves, play some football. And we end up drawing 6-6. Which he weren't happy about. He had the ump about that, and he come in and let us know about it. But another minute we'd have lost as well. They were all over us. But 6-0 up and drew 6-6.
So I mean, you must have come across some characters, players, coaches, managers yourself. I mean, any sort of like funny people you come across during, or lovely people you've come across in your career so far.
Yeah, it's changed a little bit. Like when I first started non-league, what I call proper men that were. The game's changed a little bit now. I think a lot of young lads now think there's something they're actually not. Back then, you just have men. The game changed anyway. The tackles that you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. But had people like Dave Clark in the midfield, been about, done the non-league circuit. I think he'd won the conference at Kingstonian. He was good. Steve Sedgley again. He was brilliant. Dave Clark was called the tripod, shall we say. He had a third leg. And he was standing there one day and just got out the showers. And Sedge had got a boiling hot cup of tea and had come behind him and put the cup up and burnt his bits, which didn't go well. But back then it was just laughed about. Now it'd probably end up in a fight. But yeah, it was. You had good characters back then. Alan Devonshire, another one. But now I think it was a lot more professional back then. Nowadays it's not so. They don't take it as seriously, I think. But no, it was good people.
I think. Do you think that's what's missed though from the non-league game? I mean, I know I've only been sort of involved in it sort of like 8-9 years or so, but it does seem like it's changed from being how can you put it, people going out there enjoying their football to now it's sort of more of a stress-based thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely has changed. I can't put my finger on why. I don't know if people are watching the telly a lot more now. It's all, I don't know, sometimes I just feel people see stuff on telly and feel they have to do it out on a non-league pitch, and the two games are completely different. What you see on the telly and what you see on non-league is different. My dad actually prefers coming to watch non-league games. I know when Dad was at England, every Saturday they were out watching a Premier League game. He used to prefer coming to ours on the midweek. Yeah. Like if we had a midweek game, because he said it's proper football. Like in the Premier League, you know what you're going to get. In our league, it's like people, want to be out there. They're not there for the money. They want to be there because they want to be playing football. Dad actually enjoyed the non-league game, so it's a bit of both. It's hard, but it is what it is, really.
So I suppose on that sort of side of it, I suppose with your dad, I mean, how difficult was that maybe growing up if you saw papers or TV or whatever else and your dad's getting a bit of grief as well as the the coaching team that he's with. How did you cope with that as being the son or as being a sibling? I mean, that must have been very difficult as well.
Well, I couldn't read as a kid, so I was all right. No, obviously when you're a kid, you go to the games, and when Dad was at Fulham, they were not the Fulham they are now. They were in League Two when I first started. Really remember him watching my dad. And yeah, when he's getting abuse from the stands, it ain't nice. And it's not nice for my mum either. She was there and she was having to sort of protect me and my brother Dean from hearing all these things. My worst period was the England thing, because you just feel the tension, especially coming up to a tournament like the World Cup or the Euros. I hated it. Like, my dad was alright with it. I hated it. You hear, if you go to the pub, you're hearing comments about the game, or he's clueless, or why is he picking him? And you take it personally. Obviously, when they lost to Iceland, I had to hibernate basically for a couple of weeks, because everywhere you go, it was like people moaning, and rightly so. Like Dad says, it's Iceland, rightly so. They should be moaning, but when it's your dad they're talking about, it's not nice to hear. you try to explain to people that some bloke actually I didn't know him from Adam, tweeted me, said it's a disgrace, this, that, and the other. I never met the bloke in my life, and he's tweeting me having a go at my dad, and it's a bit surreal. And then other people, even friends, why did he pick him, or why did he pick him? And you're like, listen, end of the day, they picked him for a reason, but that is my dad you're having a go about. I wouldn't go into your dad's workplace and start caning him. So it was hard. It is hard, but again, there's lots of perks to his job. And that's just, unfortunately, that's part of it. You have to just take it on the chin.
So, the perks you're just talking about, did you get to meet some of the superstars as well?
Yeah, it was brilliant. We went to every game at Wembley. I went to Rio for the World Cup. And yeah, you're in the players' bar at every game at Wembley. The same people that moan him about selections, I also took them to games. They weren't moaning when they met Rooney or Gerrard or whoever. But yeah, little perks like that. Even now, just going to watch Palace train at the training ground and just seeing the difference, how they do it, the professionals to what we do. I've got a little boy, Freddie, who's 6, so he's now Crystal Palace mad, so it's brilliant for him. So it does have its perks.
I suppose knowing then how you felt, is that something that you sort of try and work out to try and stop, as you just said, your little one? If it gets to a situation where you come under that type of, not to the extent of your dad probably from being with Molesey, but if you get that sort of side of it, do you know now how to sort of maybe protect the little one from hearing stuff?
Yeah, Molesey, like I say, my missus Teresa, she's brilliant. She's brilliant with Fred. He comes to all our games. He goes watch my brother at MK, Crystal Palace. He's always at football. But like I say, at Molesey, we don't get the biggest support. And if the man behind the goal starts having a go, he probably can't hear it anyway. So it's all right. But no, listen, we've got good people around him. So if there was anything ever coming my way, it'd be dealt with. But I think again, if I was to go to another club in the future, I don't know. It's something he'll have to get used to. It's something I had to get used to. It is what it is, isn't it? If your dad's in football, obviously non-league's a bit different, but the level my dad is involved in, it's going to happen at some point.
But does that help you as well, though? And I know I've spoken to Tony Gow a few times, and I think he's a little bit. I don't really want to talk about that side of it, but we're having a famous dad. Do you find that a little bit easier for you to, maybe some connections to get some help, maybe with sort of loan people, or even sort of for you as a manager stroke coach to go down there and learn a few bits from sort of, should we say, more Premier League type coaches? Yeah,
no, Dad's brilliant like that. Dad he'll never get involved. He'll come and watch a game, and if I've got something to ask him, I'll go to him and he'll give me the answers. He'll never be on the side of the pitch screaming and shouting, Craig, you're doing this wrong or that wrong. He'll leave that to me. But if I ask his advice, he's always there to give me that. Again, having Dad, it does help with connections and that. But unfortunately, Dad always says at Crystal, I've asked Dad for a few Palace youth players and that, but he said Ryman Div 1's just it's a step too low. They'll set them out to the Prem, but Ryman 1's just one step. They won't do it. So it doesn't really help that way. But no, again, you can give me connections of lower teams like your Barnets, your Brentfords, etc. that may be willing to give us players. But yeah, I'll try and get on with it as much as I can by myself. But if I need that, like as a family, we all go out to eat on a Sunday every Sunday. So you can imagine the topic of conversation every Sunday.
I bet it was quite good the last 2 weeks.
So yeah, no, we've all won. Yeah, Dean's been winning as well at MK Don. So it's been a good dinner table.
So you said you was at Morton Casuals for a bit, and then of course went on to Molesey and playing down there. What was the difference then between those two clubs? At Morton Casuals and going into Molesey, was there much of a difference at the time?
Yeah, Molesey were in the Combined Counties League, and I didn't want to drop to that level, to be honest. But Peter Elliott, who was then the assistant, he turned out to be manager in the end. He said, "You're a Molesey lad. I live in Molesey. Come down. We've got a good chance of winning the league." And Morton Casuals, they just appointed Mark Hams, and I didn't really. I like him as a bloke, but the sort of philosophy he wanted, it wasn't really for me. And I was 31, I think. So I just thought, why not go and play for my hometown team? I always said I'd do it, and we did. We won the league. Which was brilliant. Got the club back to where it is now. at the time, Molesey was probably a bit of a bigger club, if you can call it, the two sides bigger clubs. Now Walton's obviously gone from strength to strength with their new ground and stuff, but now they're they were sort of very similar in size. They're both not great supported, not a lot of money at each club, but both good clubs, both, teams that, like I say, community based, they are in the middle of the community, both of them.
So, I mean, how close are the two clubs? Quite close, or?
Probably not even half a mile apart.
Right, okay. So were you...
That's the only thing. That's the only thing with this area. You got us. You got Walton Casuals, Walton and Hersham, Met Police, Leatherhead, Kingstonian, Hampton and Richmond. All probably 5-6 miles between all of them. So the support is obviously shared about. So there's so many teams in one little area that, unfortunately, we're at the lower scale of it. But if you could combine some of them teams, then there's a lot of talk of Walton Casuals and Walton Hersham merging. You would have quite a good little club on your hand.
Yeah. I mean, are you surprised then that, I suppose, with yourselves being in the Bostik, and then, of course, Walton Casuals got promoted last year and moved into, if I'm right in saying, the Southern League. So, I mean, it's like, are you concerned then that you're right on that sort of cusp that, if you did, next year, who knows where you could be?
Yeah, no, like you look at Walton Casuals, you look, like I say, there's the size of the club, very similar to Molesey. And yeah, they got promoted, and they're now, I know they're struggling a bit, but I think they'll be all right. So it does give hope to the other clubs in the area that something can be achieved.
Is that what I'm saying? Would that be difficult as a manager? Not knowing where you could possibly be playing next season. You could be playing in the league. You could be playing in the Southern League. You could be playing. No one seems to know. It seems to be every year. It seems a bit of almost like a jigsaw puzzle that someone's putting together, and sometimes they're putting the pieces in the wrong place.
Yeah, no, well, for Walton to be in that league is ridiculous. Like, they're going to Weymouth and places like that, where obviously the Bostik Prem is a lot more suited for them travelling wise. So yeah, for us, you notice a bit of an uncertainty, which is hard as well, because it's getting to that point now where pre-season games and stuff are going to have to start being organised. But like you say, you could potentially be in Southern one or Bostik one. You can't bring up teams, and you could be playing them in the league. You're not. It's hard. I think, that's another thing that could change possibly. What you said earlier about non-league is a set. Everyone knows where they're going to be if they stay up or get promoted, and then you can start sorting things out. It's very bit last minute, I find, non-league football at times.
Yeah, because it's very difficult. So we always call the Southern Central like the Jigsaw League, but you just don't know. That league, you just don't know who's going to be in that next year. Harlow are struggling in the top league, where would normally go into the north, but then Waltham Abbey and places like that, they're all in the South Central, and so it must be difficult for a manager, as you just said, planning wise for next season. And no disrespect to yourself as well, being in the position that you're in, you could be in 3 or 4 different leagues. So it must be very difficult to know where to plan.
Well, it is like you say, we don't know. We could be relegated, and then you're in another league straight away. You got all this debacle of the changing room size now. The away change rooms have to be a certain size, and teams could be relegated because of that. So it's all up in the air at the minute. Like I say, we could be relegated and maybe given a reprieve. I'm not saying we will. I'm not saying it will happen, but Thamesmead have gone bust already. I know Herne Bay are in a bit of trouble. So it's all up in the air, and really, you're not going to be able to plan nothing until the actual confirmation of the leagues is through, which, as you say, as a manager, is no good. You want to try and attract players now. You want to start talking to players now for next year, but what league are they going to be in? Where are they travelling to? You can't say nothing. So, yeah, it's all a bit of, like you say, a bit of a mishmash.
So with Molesey, then, straight in at Molesey, go down to Molesey. I mean, how was the first season down there, or the first few games down there?
What, as manager?
No, as players. I assume you went in as player first.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, like I say, we dropped a league and we won it. So it was all good times. We had a brilliant team. A lot of the lads have gone on now. James McShane's at Dorking Wanderers, firing goals in every week. He was there. Ollie Robinson at Met Police. Rob Sheridan at Dorking Wanderers. Stafford Palmer had done the rounds. We had a real good side. So probably too good for that league, hence why we won it. But again, with Molesey, because of the size of the club it is and the lack of money down there, as soon as we got promoted, we come 9th that next season in the Ryman League. And bigger clubs come in and cherry pick your players because they know they can give them a lot more money. So the side got pulled apart. And And then really the last 2-3 years has been a struggle because of that. We had a real good 15. We had about 3 left at the end of the next season. So it's been a bit of a struggle since then, but Pete Elliott was there. He kept them up. He done a good job, and I'm hoping I can keep them up now.
So when did you take over as manager?
I took over this season. They were rock bottom on a point. Unfortunately, they'd had a point. So we've given everyone a quarter of a season head start, really. So to be even in amongst it, we've done all right. We've done all right. Like I say, we have had a few good results recently, but that's just put us back in the chase. We now got to push on and try and get ourselves out of it.
And I mean, people, you spoke about, people around the club and so forth. I mean, what is the club itself like? We talk about it on there, and we hear of people like Tracy and that. But I mean, I know Keith always laughs and jokes and says I wouldn't be too surprised if Tracy's not managing the team next week as well. But I mean,
you try to tell me who to pick. Don't worry.
I mean, what is it like as a club and the people around you? I mean, you must have some great people there. It sounds like a really lovely place to be working in. Yeah,
no, it's brilliant. Like I say, I live in Molesey. I'm literally a minute and a half from the ground, so it's brilliant for me. It's a small little club, but the people there are brilliant. Tracy, she literally every spare minute of her day is devoted to that club. Mark Billett, again, I know you've had a few dealings with Mark. Anything needs fixing, he's up his ladder fixing it. They've got Ross and Andy. There's about 3 or 4 people that are there, and they literally devote their life to that club. Do the pitch, they do everything. It's also open during the week as a drinking club. They've got a nice bar at Molesey, so that's where their revenue's made. But it's a real good feel about the place. You don't ever go there and everything's always nice. It's always clean. You don't ever go there and you go some places you're like, oh, well, we'll get out of here after the game pretty lively. At Molesey, you want to stay there. It's a nice bar, and like I say, it's lovely people. You're always made to feel welcome down there, and you should definitely come down.
Yeah, absolutely. So no holes in the sock or anything like that, then? No.
Sorry?
No holes in the socks, then? No.
No, it's still got them. New socks, Tracy.
I mean, I've just had a look at your table, for where you are at this present in time, and you say 2 great wins over the last couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden, a point behind South Park, 3 points behind Hartford, and 6 points behind FC Romania. Well, a few weeks ago, it was probably 6 points between you, 6 or 7 points between you and the next team to get out of the relegation zone. So you really have put yourself right back in the mix, haven't you?
Yeah, no, like I say, the last 2 games have been massive. The Egham game was massive. I think it was bigger than Hartford because that gave us the platform that closed the gap. Like I say, before Saturday's game, we were I think we were 4 points behind South Park with 2 games in hand. So even if we had lost, it weren't the end of the world. But winning it, like I say, there's just a point in it now, and we've got a game in hand on 2 games in hand on Hartford and a game in hand on Romania, which. Again, you have to win those games in hand. They're against Marlow, who are 3rd, I think, and Tooting, who are 6th. So they're not going to be easy. But
looked, yeah.
it's all good. Everyone keeps saying we've got the game in hands. We have to win them. But no, like I said, them 2 wins, we've put ourselves back in the pack now. And we said to the boys the other day that we've got me, Adrian, Brown, Paul Cross, and Pete Elliott, the management team. We said the more teams that are in it, the better. We don't want it just to be us and South Park because, the more teams that are dragged into it, the better. Even Chalfont now. Chalfont and Peter, they must be looking over their shoulder a little bit. But we got Romania. We got Tooting tomorrow. Then we got Romania on Saturday away, and then Chalfont at home. So, Marlow and Tooting, then Chalfont. So we've got a couple of games coming up again that we'll be looking to get some points from.
So I mean, to play, as people say, you've got 2 games in hand, but when you look at that and see the likes of Tooting sitting there and Marlow sitting there. You just said they're not necessarily the easiest ones. So I mean, have you sort of given the boys a sort of like a points total that you want to have, or you're aiming for that you think might keep you safe?
We said the other week we needed 6 wins. We've had 3. Now I think I might have underestimated it a little bit. I reckon we probably still need another 4. We haven't highlighted certain games that we think we can win that one because as you well know, like Egham drew with Hayes and Yedding the other day, who would have ever thought that? So we feel we need 4 wins and a couple of draws. That could be, could keep us up. Which is easier said than done. Yeah. We've won 4 games all year.
looking at that though. I mean, as you said, you've got Tooting, and then the real big one Saturday against FC Romania down at Cheshunt. Then you've got Marlow at home. Shalford will pick at home, another big one for you. Hamwell Town, who I saw play Cheshunt at the weekend and look a really good outfit. Went 2-0 up there against Cheshunt and a massive goalkeeping mistake, and then it went 4-2 to Cheshunt. So it was a real sort of spin. Waltham Abbey at home, Tooting away, Westfield away, Hayes and Yedding at home, Chipstead away, and then finish with Northwood at home. I mean, you look at the Hayes and Yedding game, and of course, people on paper would say to you, well, 3 points to Hayes and Yedding realistically, but by that sort of time, you would have thought they probably would have had the league won and done and dusted by then.
That's what we're banking on. We sort of spoke about this the other day. Like, again, between the management, we went through the games and we didn't highlight any, but you're sort of thinking, well, maybe you could nick a point there, nick a point there. And Hayes and Yedding was actually one that we feel, if they have won the league by then, it's like maybe then they're going to get to Molesey. The pitch ain't great at Molesey. People ain't going to, at the club and mind me saying that. They're not really going to fancy it. They've won the league. Are they really going to be up for it? We're going to have to be up for it because I imagine we'll still be needing points then. So it's, that's one we sort of feel maybe we could get something from. But and then you've got Chipstead. Like the Chipstead, they're not really playing for nothing. They're not going up. They're not going down. So there's a couple of games there that you sort of think, if we're up for it and they're not quite on it, you never know. We could maybe nick a point or two.
So do you do a Newport and drive a couple of tractors across the pitch before you play your Hayes and Yedding?
We ain't got to do that, mate. Don't worry. You'll see it one day. No. The pitch is all right. It's not great. They try their hardest on it. To be fair, they do try their hardest on it. But there's so many games. They have to have so many games on it. They have our under-23s. They have a vets. They hire it out to Claygate Royals just because they need the revenue. So the pitch, it takes a bit of a battering. So it's all right now because it's wet, so it takes the bobble out of it. But when it starts drying out, it'll be a bit bobbly.
So I mean, with the actual you talking about your lady wife and the family. I mean, they come to all the games today. I mean, is it one of those things where, where can I put it? You sort of you've got the footballing wife and the young lady comes with you, or is it a case of she keeps away, or is the family come to all the games with you?
No, she's good as gold. She liked football anyway, which was always a bonus. And a bit like my mum, didn't really have a choice. My mum liked football, but with my dad, goes and watches every week, and so does Teresa. She's there every home game. She's there at the majority of the away games. Sometimes she can't. Freddie might have a birthday party or something to go to. But no, she's brilliant, and again, unless people are actually in it and done, I didn't realise the managing side, but when you lose, she comes home, she takes the brunt of it. I come home, I've got the ump. Saturday nights are ruined. She'll try and talk. I don't really want to talk because I've got going over the game in my head. But no, she's been supportive. She's been brilliant, and you do need it. You do need that supportive person because if you don't have it, it's a lonely place to be sometimes. But no, like I said, I'll try and leave the football behind as much as I can when I get through the door. But sometimes it's hard, and she understands that. And no, she's good as gold.
And I suppose the stress factor will be on in the next 5-6 weeks, I suppose, going into that to the end of the season. But I mean, looking at the form you're in, you've got to be quite confident now, that you're going to stay up.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much in case it don't happen. But like I said, we've given ourselves a chance now. These last few games, we've brought a few in recently. Ashley Lodge from Staines, well, was at Staines a few years back, but from Egham. We've got Nathan Wood from Walton Casuals, and we look a lot more. What's the word? I wouldn't say solid. We look a bit more of a team now than we did. We was a little bit all over the shop for a while. And like I say, we can't get carried away. But then wins have only just put us back in the pack. We've now got to push on again.
So is it one of those things? I think the deadline is in the end of this month, isn't it, for transfers?
31st, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Is it something that you as managers, especially in the positions that maybe you're in, or someone that are at the top end of the table, and is it something you're looking at to try and maybe bring in a couple more before the end, just to sort of bolster it?
I spoke to Tracy. We've got a war chest to go to, £100 to go and spend. But no, there's definitely, of course, the things you look at. Like that's the thing with non-league, you never know, players go away and stuff like that. So we are looking at a couple of positions that we might need an extra couple of bodies in, just because people are on holiday or they're away on the bank holiday weekend. Again, what we talked about earlier, the professionalism. When I first started, the players, you didn't go away during the football season. That was it. Now it's like people are going away, or they're away for the bank holiday, they're at a festival or something. So we do need, and because of the money the clubs pay them, I don't actually blame some of them. But we do need a couple of bodies in, which we'll be looking at in the next few weeks.
Great. I mean, and also as well, I suppose. I mean, the club itself. I mean, is the club itself going in the right direction? I mean, is the club...
On and off the pitch, we're trying to do the right things on the pitch. Again, like speaking to my dad, he's given me a couple of little tips to make things a bit better, and we're trying to give them kit for training in. Just little things like towels that we're trying to get, so they haven't got to bring towels to the game. Just little things that make the little differences. Off the pitch, they're trying to build some houses on a bit of land at the moment, which is all going through the planning permission stages. But if they were to get that, it gives the club a bit of money as well. So yeah, they're trying their hardest, like they always do. It's good down there.
Changing wise, yours are okay?
Yeah, all passed.
Yeah,
all passed. So just the on the pitch side, we've got to get right, mate.
But I mean, I know it's probably being people look at it and go, "Oh well, you know, how can people say that?" But surely there's got to be managers at that your sort of end of the table in all four of the divisions looking at it going, "Oh, I hope there's a couple of teams in our division that then got their changing rooms up to square, so that maybe then that might help us out on the other side of it as well." But are you surprised? Are you surprised that? I mean, it's been 4 or 5 years that people have known about these change rooms that some clubs still haven't actually got them sorted.
I know. I think it's one of them. When you've got 4 years, I will do it next year. We'll do it next year, and before you know it, it's upon you. And as well, I know it's completely different to the houses and that. But any new build, you've got planning permission and that, which takes time to get through. And I think a lot of clubs are now look at this like squeaky bum time. Have we left it too late? For us, we hope we stay up anyway. We finish above the line, and we ain't got to worry about that. But maybe a small changing room could help us out. It could be a reprieve or something like that we may well need. So I'm hoping they don't do it. But I do think though in non-league clubs that the FA have to realise that they ain't got pots of money. They ain't got the money that the Premier League clubs have got, and it's all good saying you need to make your change room bigger, but they ain't got the money to do it. It's a little bit harsh, I think, but again, if they are the rules, they are the rules. You have to abide by them.
Absolutely. Well, listen, mate, thank you for giving up your time. I know you've got work coming up very shortly, so a massive thank you for joining us today. And of course, myself, Keith, wish you all the very, very best for the coming games, and hopefully you'll still be up there with us next year.
No, fingers crossed, mate. Thank you.
No worries, mate. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks,
See you a bit.
Bye.
Bye.